Welcome, everyone, to today's Not So live stream, episode number 34 of our Baldur's Gate 3 Honor Mode gameplay series. I'm Commander Jorval, and I want to thank you for coming along on our journey today. So, as an admin note, you are now obviously aware, if you are watching this, that there is no live stream this week. I made the decision when I'm recording this, which is early in the week, that I didn't want to take the chance that my trip coming back from the holidays would somehow get interrupted or delayed, and that would impact the two live streams that were supposed to happen today. So I pre-recorded both of these episodes, uploaded them so that they will go live at the normal times, and I will be back next week. Now, next week is the 7th. That is the weekend before I start my new job. So I, again, hope that nothing's going to interrupt that live stream. But for right now, I don't have any indications that that is the case. Coming down later in the month, Christmas is on a Wednesday, and New Year's, hence, is on a Wednesday as well. So that should mean that I'm not interrupted again on the weekends after Christmas, before Christmas, or after New Year's. So the live stream should continue on as normal, but again, we'll kind of play the holidays by ear. I know a lot of people have things going over the holidays, myself included. But for now, the plan is that I will be back next week at this regular time for a continuation of the live streams themselves. So thank you for tuning in to watch the video today, and I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back next week. I think that's it for our admin notes. So in our recap, last week, I admit, was not the most action-packed episode, and that's because more than any other transition, the Act 2 to Act 3 transition has a lot of housekeeping stuff to do. There's a lot of conversations to have. There's a lot of ancillary encounters to have. There's a lot of story building that has to take place to prepare you for Act 3, because Act 3 is so expansive in its scope that dropping you into it would be a disservice. It's already fairly hard to navigate the breadth of what's here in Act 3 in sheer content, and dropping you in without any guidance, so to speak, would, like I say, it would leave everyone lost. So I understand why it was done, but out of the 3 hours that we had last week, we had one combat encounter, I believe. And that's just because of all of the preparations to get here. We are now officially in Act 3, so let's go ahead and jump back in to Rivington, where we landed. Okay, here we are. So we are in Rivington. That is what this area is. It's the town of Rivington. From a lore perspective, Rivington is the town that is on the east side of the Keonthar River. Worms Crossing is the bridge that leads you from the east side to the west side of the river, which is out here. And Worms Rock Crossing, or Worms Rock Fortress, sits right astride the Worms Crossing Bridge. And this is the home of the Flaming Fist. Okay. So all of those two areas, well, I guess 3 areas, the town of Rivington, Worms Crossing Bridge and the environs around it, and Worms Rock Fortress, all of this is in this particular area. It is a self-contained area very similar to what we saw with the Underdark and the Githyanki Kresh, in that they're kind of standalone areas, and then once you get past Worm's Rock Fortress on the other side, you will then be able to enter into the city of Baldur's Gate proper. Actually, the city of Baldur's Gate is down there behind the hill, actually. The road weaves itself around behind the mountain to the city of Baldur's Gate, back down there. So, but we won't have to travel that road. There's a transport, basically, on the other side of Worm's Rock that takes you right into the lower city through the Basilisk Gate. So, here there's quite a few things to do, actually, here in Rivington. And this is where we came in, right back up here, and it's a fairly linear path that we're going to take to get down to the bottom. We're going to pick up a few things on our way down.
Followers of Lady Shah will be watching, no doubt, waiting for my return.
Okay, and Shadowheart realizes again
what they know could help us.
That the Sharin Cloister is going to be looking for her. Because of the choices we made with her embracing Shar, things are going to be a little different when it comes to how we deal with things here in this section of Act 3. And you'll see that fairly quickly. So let's do a little searching here.
Let's go.
Okay, there's our dirt mound. Okay, a Supreme Elixir of Arcane Cultivation is really nice. Okay, now as we approach down here, two things. We're going to get a waypoint that we're going to unlock. We're also going to get an encounter with Yenna here.
Where am I? What's going on? Breathe deep.
There's the waypoint. And here comes Yenna. You cannot escape this conversation.
Excuse me. I can't find my mum. She was sick. She had spots on her face and hands. She went to go get some herbs, and she was supposed to come back the same day. That was last 10 day, though. Oh, thank you so much. I don't have anything, and you can't do anything without any coin. I'll pay you back when I find my mum.
Okay, so let's talk to Minthara here.
I do not understand why the matrons, patriarchs of the city do not open their gates to the refugees. I was not suggesting they be allowed to roam free. They should be put to work. The city needs laborers and fodder to protect it. I am suggesting they be fed and sheltered, and that they work in return. Call it whatever you wish. Perhaps you think it would be better for them to starve or be slaughtered here, while the citizens hide behind their walls.
Okay, so Minthara obviously has some interesting ideas about what should be done with the refugees here. So here in Rivington, we're gonna do a couple of things. The first is we're gonna start down a quest line here. This is at Arfur's house. This is Arfur right here. And once we've kind of started this quest, that's going to take us down toward the warehouse down here, and we will kind of search all of that and clear all of that out. So let's go ahead and move into this area here with Arfur. Now, Arfur is going to have an insight check. So let's go ahead and get shapeshifted here. We don't have to pass this check, but as always, I try and pass as many of them as I can. Okay. And then we will cast guidance
Time to dally.
on me as well. And let's move in here.
The place was empty. Keep those thugs away from my family.
Denuvia! Get these spotters out of my house now!
Arfur, sweetheart, you paid me and my boys to be caravan guards, not cattle wranglers. If you want us to get our hands dirty, it'd be our pleasure. But that'll be extra.
You shouldn't have to make people feel welcome in places they don't belong. I just want to remove these unlawful interlopers from my property.
What do you mean by that?
Shh, sweetheart. Adults are talking. This is guild business, and we'll handle it as soon as we get paid.
Enough of this bickering! You! What's your proposal?
Okay, now I'm going to go down a path here to try and get into a fight with the guild members. Okay, and as such, I'm going to make a persuasion check here.
You don't exactly look desperate for gold, but I can't help but admire such solid business acumen. Very well. Get the job done, and you'll be paid and be in my good graces.
Do you think you're clever coming in and undercutting us, sweetheart? We were about to make a bit of extra cash before you butted in. You owe the guild a cut.
The Guild, a loose coalition unifying every criminal outfit in the city under one collective rule, from cut purses to contract killers.
Okay, so here we have some options on how we want to play this out. I'm going to make an intimidation check here.
I think you're overestimating your abilities somewhat. But I haven't got time for this. Come on, boys. We've got places to be.
Okay, and that's going to give us 800 XP. And that's the only reason that I did it. Was to get that XP bonus out of it. You have to pardon me, the landscapers showed up here out in front, so I had to pause and not speak while the leaf blower's right outside my door. So before I go talk to Ben here and complete this, I'm going to go loot the house. And there's a reason for that. And that's because right now, everyone is kind of trapped at the front door, so to speak. Marfa and most importantly, Cinta are both sitting at the front door waiting. Okay? So I'm going to head in here. And I'll close the door behind me. And now there's no worry about Cinta especially coming in here to try and loot this place, or patrol this place. So what I'm actually going to do is leave my bard out here. Because if for some reason I do trigger a security response from the Flaming Fist, they're going to go after the nearest person they can see, hopefully, and that would be my bard out here. But we'll kind of play it by ear. I'm going to take this. There's some weird interactions that can happen here, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes Cinta will magically teleport over to the kitchen and then come back, walking back out. It's, like I say, it's very, very strange here. So in here, we can take all of this stuff without fear of reprisal because none of it is marked as steel. There's a lot of fire amber laying around here. That's a crafting ingredient for alchemist fire potions. We're going to learn more about that here in a little bit. But I'm going to take everything that's not locked down in here. Okay, because, again, honor mode. And we want every scrap of gold we can get out of this. Okay, so Astarians encumbered.
By my oath, from silence to suffering.
Okay, so we have plenty of space on Minthara.
Like a whisper.
It's really when you're trying to search out here and pick up these items that you can possibly get Cinta to come in. Most of the time, in my experience, if you're inside these rooms and you're stealing in here, it doesn't matter. But we will keep an eye and see what happens. See, Cinta's still locked down over there. If you turn and you see detection cones shifting out there in the lobby, kind of keep an eye on it. You may want to get ready to quickly teleport out to the Rivington waypoint. Okay, so we're going to loot all of this here real quick, including the shelves. And the reason we do that is because of this. The toy maker's house key is located in this shelf. Okay, so one of those rare times that you don't click on a shelf, you might miss out finding a key. You don't need the key. You can obviously use a Astarian to lockpick things.
I have it.
Okay, so now we're going to pop back out here. We're going to head upstairs. Now, none of the stuff up here is marked as steel. Some of it you're not going to be able to reach.
What have we here?
Okay, and this key unlocks these double doors.
The city is cracking apart. Are earthquakes a common occurrence here?
Okay, so then we can continue searching here. There's a letter here to Madame Amira at Sharessa's Caress, kind of apologizing for an incident that he had last time he was there. And here is our second key, the Toy Maker's Basement key. That was, didn't mean to click on that. Okay, in here you're going to find some nice clothing. You can read through his private musings, which is about the person that he was spending time with in Sharessa's Caress.
At once.
Okay, and now I'm going to bring everybody in here. I'm going to take Shadowheart. I'm going to equip the not Justiciar's Great Shield. Okay, so I'm gonna go to camp real quick. I must have taken the other shield. And put it away. Unless advantage on stealth checks. Yeah. I need to get out the Sentinel Shield. This is what's giving me advantage on perception checks. And I'm going to also get her fully buffed up for this by shape-shifting her into an elf. And I'm going to cast Guidance before she goes down here.
No time for dally. If everyone else minds their business, I'll be fine.
Okay, and she failed both perception checks. That's not surprising. Down here. That is a DC 25 perception check. She rolled a 3 with advantage. That's not a good roll. She rolled a 10 with advantage. Again, that's not a good roll. And she has by far the best chance of passing those perception checks. Okay. Now, she doesn't have to pass them. What those perception checks are for are for the fireworks that are hidden around down here in the basement. What's important are the tripwires, and the perception checks for the tripwires are quite a bit easier. Okay, so she succeeded on 2. One of them's a 20 and the other one's a 15. The 15s are the tripwires. Okay, so it's substantially easier to pass those checks. Now, what I want to do here with the Starian is equip the smuggler's ring. Oh, there's that bug again. Okay, and I'm going to also give him the silver pendant. This is probably going to get the bug again. Yep. I'm going to cast guidance on myself before I send Astarion down there. Astarion has the second best chance of passing them, but again, we don't have to. Okay, but he failed them both. Okay. So, what's important with Astarion, though, is disarming the tripwires. If you can't find the explosives, that's perfectly fine. You want to disarm the tripwires, though, that keep the explosives from detonating. And these are only DC 10s. Okay, so now I can take Shadowheart, recast guidance on her, and continue moving her slowly through here. And she's going to be revealing some of these explosives, but hopefully she gets all of the tripwires.
A trap. Someone doesn't like visitors. A trap. Someone doesn't like visitors.
Okay, so we'll continue moving him around. The next tripwire is over here. We'll see if he can find it. Failing all the perception checks.
I wonder what the next move is.
Best avoid that trap.
Okay, so there it is.
Well, hello. Oh dear. Someone's left a trap out for us.
Because if you trigger one of these tripwires, the entire basement's going to go up. And you really don't want to be down here when that happens. Okay, so now I'm going to take Shadowheart back around this way.
Looks like a trap there.
Okay, again, she's finding more of the fireworks. And here is our last tripwire.
Someone there? Over there. Traps. How considerate.
Okay, so now we'll just continue. I'm sorry, there's one more tripwire. Almost made a huge mistake there. Actually, Shadowheart doesn't need it. Since he found it. Okay, and that is our last tripwire. But there is one more thing to try and find, and that is the trap on the chest. And this DC's a little sporty.
Should be easy.
And a really nice DC here for the chest. Okay. Now, Astarion doesn't have any space left in his inventory. So I'm just going to take him back out of here.
Very well, then. Ready or not.
Okay, Shadowheart has plenty of inventory space. Okay, so now we're going to start looting the basement kind of systematically here. Okay.
This bear isn't quite fit for playing with yet.
Okay, so we'll just go around and we'll hit up all these crates. There are a couple of special things, though. The box of odd fire fireworks. I believe there are 2 of them down here. You want to pick those up and send those off to your camp. They're explosives, just like barrels and that sort of stuff. And we're going to have use for those. And here's another box of fireworks. And be careful when you're down here clicking. You do not want to click on disarming the fireworks. More fire amber. Oh, and there's one more box of fireworks, so there are 3. Okay, now we can get back here into this back area. Okay, you can click on the bear.
It must have been some task to stuff this thing. Never mind, kill it.
You can pass the nature check and learn more about it, but there's nothing special. Okay, so just making our way through here. Search all the books, all the racks, and all the shelves down here. Pick up the lamp and the hourglass. And there's a hammer here and some fire amber. And then we can get to these 2 things. So the heavy chest is going to have a blackmail letter in it. And this is going to start the quest Suspicious Fire. Investigate the suspicious toys. It mentions Philogers.
Well, this isn't suspicious at all. I hope Arfur hasn't been donating cuddly toys to the needy.
And that's exactly what he has been doing. Because there's instructions here. Gifts for refugees only. Please distribute. And that was what he was going to put into the crates after he had finished rigging them. So obviously a plan to kill a bunch of refugees. And we're going to kind of deal with that. Now, as far as the fireworks go, you can disarm all of these and it will give you a firework in your inventory. Now, these fireworks are like ranged weapons. They're like Roman candles, kind of. You point them, they have a range, and they go explode. They are decently powerful, I will say. And we can actually pull one up here, actually, before we go up. Need to go look at these last two here. We can bring Astarion back. And just disarm one, and you'll see what they are. So we'll disarm this one here. It's an easy DC. Rolling a lot of nat 20s here, everybody. I hope this doesn't come back to bite me. It will disappear, and a Woglum will appear in your inventory. And here's a Woglum. So it is a ranged weapon that does 3d6 fire damage and also possibly inflicts color spray on the target with a dex save. So it is, you know, pretty decent damage for a ranged weapon. But you're going to be able to find a bunch more of those later when we actually get to Philogers. So it's not something that I normally end up spending any more time on. You can, however, loot them for the gold if you would like. So that's what I'm going to do. Off stream, I'm going to come back down here and disarm all of these that I have found, just so that I can sell them off for the gold. But no reason to sit here and make you watch me disarm 15 or 20 of these things down here. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. Okay, so now we're done in Arfur's, and like I say, I try not to... You can loot some of these things out here, but Cinta gets a little weird. Like I say, things glitch out a little bit, so I try not to do it. Okay, so now I'm going to have a conversation here.
I see those animals are out of the picture. Can we stay now? Or are you going to turn us next? Make it quick if you can. I don't like the way he's looking at us.
Okay, so now Arfur.
All's well that ends well, eh? I'm sure the guild will be in touch with any concerns. Sinister? Nonsense! Those are experimental toys, guaranteed to bring a smile to the face of even the unhappiest child. They're extremely precious, and you shouldn't be poking around in my workshop and tampering with them. Really? There's no this? And nothing to get to the bottom of? You again. Did you need something?
So now I'm going to do the intimidation here.
But you said you'd get rid of them, and I believed you. More fool me. Well, with Zenobia and the others gone, I don't suppose you'll take no for an answer. All right, they can stay. Are you happy now? Now I have to figure out what I'm going to do. A room can wait. After what you've put me through, I need a drink.
Okay, and we're going to meet up with Arfur some more later on. We're going to get an inspiration for that. And we should be at full inspirations now. So we'll go in here and just quickly talk to Ben again.
Not quite sure why you stood up for us like that, but I won't say I'm not grateful. Thanks. And may Torm keep you. We're much more interested in the beds and the pantry. But I'll make sure Cinta knows the basement's off limits.
Okay. And you're going to get another inspiration for that. Now, Cinta is sitting here in the kitchen. But for some reason, she has the craziest detection radius I've ever seen of people stealing. And that's why you loot the house before you let them go wandering around again. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to head back up here towards the beginning. Okay. And got a couple of wooden trunks here. And over here, be careful what you click on. Because almost everything here is marked as steel.
Turn back, citizen. No passage in this direction. It's bloodier than a butcher's backyard out there. Piles of dead absolutists, and a few of our own as well. The cultists assaulted the gate, armed to the teeth trying to break in. They nearly had it too, before the Steel Watch intervened. A little more than that. You'll see for yourself soon enough if you head to the city.
Okay, and we're going to break our group here. I'm going to go into hiding. Okay, now most times Fist Leonel is locked in place. Which lets us loot the stuff in here. Yeah, try not to loot anything out in the open, even if I'm outside of a detection cone. Potion of greater healing here. And another heavy chest. It has more potions in it.
How much farther can I go?
Okay, so now we'll go join up with the group again.
Cozy bed soon enough.
And you'll have anything you want for supper.
And we'll head out this direction here.
If I was a Sharon lookout, this is the sort of place I'd wait around.
Okay, Shadowheart's going to do her best to give you all sorts of hints about things that are upcoming, so pay attention to them. She mentioned that the Sharans would probably be waiting around here somewhere. Okay, there's the dirt mound. Odaluk's Freezing Sphere, that's a nice spell to have your wizard learn, since you can't get it. I don't think you can learn, or I don't think it's on the spell list to learn. I'd have to go back and look and see if it's been added in, but... And here is the strange ox. Again, make sure you have Speak with Animals on.
I want to have a word.
My. The fates move in strange and scrumptious
I forgot there's an insight check
I
here.
am delighted to see you again. After our little interlude at last light, I was worried you'd gone quite mad. And mine. And mine. Though, one thing I find quite distasteful is being kept outside our intended city. I'd quite like to get inside, but it's difficult to shuffle your way to the top of the queue when you're, well, as big as an ox. But what if I was smaller, more discreet? Maybe then a kind soul might bring me through, right in their little pocket. Ooh, this day has ended so much better than it started. Now, you don't worry about me. I'll be a good, quiet little apple you can tuck into the corner of your pack, just until we're inside the city walls. Hail, Cyric! I can't wait to get inside.
Okay, and that's going to open up the quest Help the Devilish Ox. There's the strange apple on the ground you want to pick up. There's the insight check. Failed it when I picked it up. I should have prepped for it, but... And then there's another dirt mound here. Okay, telekinesis can be okay. Alright, so let's transfer some of this stuff off. We will send all of this to camp. Those go to Angleiron.
Have I been this way before?
Okay, now we're going to head around this way. And here is Ferg Droger. Now, the conversations with Ferg vary depending upon how you've played out the choices with Shadowheart. If you have embraced Shar, like I have, you can just walk right up to Ferg and talk to him. Further, you're not going to have to make a conversation check to be able to access his hidden items in his trade menu. They're just always going to be there because Shadowheart is part of the cloister. If Shadowheart has rejected Shar, then as soon as you talk to him and Shadowheart's in your party, he will warn Shadowheart and he will immediately leave. You will not get to trade with him at all. So if you've done that, you definitely want to leave Shadowheart out of your party here and, you know, a ways back. Go down here with Ferg, talk to him, then you can try and make the dialogue check to be able to see his hidden wares, and then you can buy them. With me, though, here, I don't have to worry about that. So I'm just going to approach him and talk to him.
Refugees can't stay here in Rivington. They're a danger to all of us.
Okay, there's the auto save you're going to get.
Any one of them could be a spy for the Absolute.
What a sight for sore eyes. I believe there's somewhere you're supposed to be. No? Long overdue, in fact.
Do I know you?
No, but I know you. I was told to keep watch for you and point you towards home should you ever appear. And lo, you have appeared.
If you let Shadowheart handle it here, you're going to get another dialogue option, or another dialogue that's going to pop up.
Mother Superior sent you. Go on then. Where do I go?
So close to home, and yet you need a guiding hand. Amazing how malleable, or fragile, the mind can be. First, you need to continue onwards into the lower city. Then, seek out a place called the House of Grief. It may not be quite what you expect, but I assure you, it's the right spot. Go there, make yourself known. You will be given the welcome you deserve.
Can't you show me yourself?
Oh, no. I must remain here. In truth, I'm glad to keep my distance for now. There's been some tension in the ranks. Seems a great deal is riding on the outcome of your mission. Besides, I have business to attend to, wares to sell. Our great endeavor cannot run on faith alone. We need funds. Have a look, if you wish. Otherwise, I think we're done. Try not to dawdle too much in the city. Mother's waiting.
Tell me one thing. Is there someone called Renald there? A tiefling boy, or possibly a man now?
Renald! Now there's a name I haven't heard in some time. But not for me to spoil what Lady Shah would keep hidden from you, hmm? Best if you look for yourself.
Okay, and that's the conversation.
If you're looking for companionship, I hear they can cater to almost every taste in Sharess's caress. I am not on offer, unfortunately.
And that's the conversation about Renald that she will have with him. We're going to learn more about Renald later, but now we have access to the complete set of goods from Ferg. Now, a couple of things. One thing you do not see here is that Ferg sells all of the poisons, and that includes crawler mucus, which is a paralytic and is very, very powerful. Ferg is one of those people that if you've sided with Shadowheart, you definitely want to come back here and do the level up trick, where you go and you view his inventory, if he sells it, you buy it, then you go out, you level up, you come back into his inventory and see if it's there again. If it is, you buy it again, and you keep doing that a few times, because crawler mucus is so important and useful, I should say, in being able to paralyze an enemy from range. There is a saving throw that goes along with it, but being able to do that is extraordinarily powerful in some of these encounters. So he is going to reliably sell it. He's always going to be here if you've embraced Shar. He's not going to move. So feel free to come back and go through his inventory. And I will be doing that off stream. I will be coming back and buying and leveling up and buying and leveling up until I get a good stock of those in my inventory. So what does Ferg sell? Well, it's really the 6 items here in the middle. The first is Cold Snap. So when a creature misses you with an attack, it must succeed a DC 13 Constitution saving throw or be chilled for 2 turns. Now we know what chilled is because we've seen it with Gale. They're vulnerable to cold damage and resistant to fire damage. But the other thing that chilled does is if you hit a chilled target with water, they become frozen. Okay, so if you have a bunch of people attacking you, and you have a high armor class, and they continue to miss you while they're attacking you, you're going to get a bunch of people that get chilled. Okay? So this can be useful for my bard here if I want to give up a little armor class from my shield and still have a 23 or so and just keep this in my offhand and never attack with it, I may be able to get a bunch of people chilled. And then all I have to do is throw a water bottle at them or drop a create water spell on top of a group of them, and they're frozen. Okay? So it can be very, very useful, and it's pretty cheap for what it does. The Hellrider Longbow is a longbow to give you +3 to initiative rolls and advantage on perception ability checks. This can take the place of the Sentinel Shield if you want to keep this on as a weapon, but more importantly, this allows you to put a ranged weapon on somebody who does not have the alert feat and give them something that really closely approximates alert. Instead of a +5, you've got a +3, but still, it's really close to the alert feat. But then the other thing about it is once per turn, when you hit an enemy with it, you can possibly be afflicted with Fairy Fire, and that's going to give everybody advantage on their attacks against it. Now, the Hellrider Longbow is expensive, but it is very, very useful. Sethan is a great axe. You don't see many great axes in the game. A great axe has the highest possible base damage tied with the great sword, but the great axe is 1d12, whereas the great sword is 2d6. So the great sword has a higher minimum damage, but the same maximum. It's a +2 weapon, which is nice, and it comes with 2 abilities. So the first is the Spiritual Great Axe. This is once per long rest. You can summon this, and it's just like Spiritual Weapon that the cleric can cast, except this is at level 6. So it will last for 10 turns, and it will do 6 to 27 force damage. That's 3d8 plus 3 on a hit. You can use this as a bonus action, very similar to Spiritual Weapon. So it's a way to bring out a pretty hefty damaging entity that is not able to be blinded and is also not affected by floor surfaces, and that can do a decent amount of damage on its own turn. Then you have Sethan Reduce, and this is where you make a creature smaller. Its weapons deal 1d4 less damage, but further it has disadvantage on strength checks and saving throws. So if you're trying to shove somebody off of something, then they're going to have disadvantage on those checks. The proficiency unlocks are the same things that you get: cleave, so you can use it in a large area. Your Spiritual Great Axe is also going to get cleave, so once per short rest, or once per combat basically, since it only lasts for 10 turns, this thing can attack multiple entities in an arc. Lacerate and Prepare, and with bleeding, with Buol's Benediction, us having advantage on targets that we can make bleed, it can be quite useful to have something like this up. Next is the Robe of Supreme Defenses. So while concentrating, you add your spell casting ability modifier to your saving throws, and you get +1 to your armor class. It is a defensive robe, both for armor class and spell saving throws. It's not something that I tend to focus on. It is really expensive, and it's not useful enough for me to justify its cost, really. And the last thing is the Nymph Cloak. This gives you the ability to cast Dominate Person once per long rest. Dominate Person is nice if they can fail the Wisdom saving throw. It's concentration, but that humanoid fights alongside you. Okay? Every time that they take damage, they have a chance to make another Wisdom saving throw to avoid the domination. Otherwise, it lasts for 10 turns. It's fairly cheap, but I don't use Dominate Person very often. If you don't have anything else going on, then Dominate Person can be useful against specific types of humanoids, but for the most part, I tend to avoid it. The last thing here is why I wanted to be here, and that's for the Dwarven Thrower. This is the best throwing weapon in the game. The weapon will return to its owner when thrown, so you do not have to be a warlock with a bound weapon or an eldritch knight with a bound weapon, this will always return to you. If you're a dwarf and you're throwing this warhammer, it deals an extra 1d8 bludgeoning damage. Again, 1d8 damage riders are really rare in the game. Most of the time they are 1d4, sometimes 1d6. 1d8s are extremely rare. If the target is large, huge, or gargantuan, the strike deals an additional 2d8. So it deals a 1d8 on top of the 1d8 bludgeoning damage from just throwing it. And it is a +2 weapon. So when you're throwing this, especially within rage throw, it can do a massive amount of damage. And if you tack on elevation differences with it, it can do even more. Now, I don't have any dwarves in my party, but what I do have is the ability to shapeshift. And shapeshifting does work with the dwarven thrower. So we're going to reorganize our party here in a little bit because we need to anyway for some stuff that we're going to do. And as part of that, we're going to be bringing Karlach back into our party and leaving Minthara out. And we will get to see the dwarven thrower in all of its glory as we start chucking it all over the place. As a replacement for the returning pike. This will do much more damage than that, and we will see that play out. Again, fairly expensive, 1,500 gold, so we're not going to purchase anything now, but everything is opened up for us to be able to purchase. Okay, so now we're going to head down this way because we have a couple of familiar faces.
Again. I don't really need to be saved right now. Good thing, huh? Bye.
And then Mattis.
You did me a real favor clearing all those ghouls out of Moonrise. That old bonebag Ketherick had some fancy junk stashed behind all the cobwebs and piles of gore. Wish I could tell you. We're stuck out here, but most of the action is beyond Worm's Crossing. Didn't you? Figured we only got the scraps you didn't have the strength to carry.
That's true. I looted everything in that place.
Would I try to fool a sharpie like you? Have a look.
Okay, and now here's Mattis's inventory. Now, again, a couple of things about Mattis. Mattis sells some of the highest potions, which means you're going to have invisibility potions. You can also get potions of Cloud Giant strength here, which, again, you want to stock up on as much as you can. These elixirs here take your strength to 27. That's a huge damage boost for your Tavern Brawler party members. So Mattis is somebody that you, again, do the leveling up trick with and try and find as many of the Cloud Giant potions and potions of invisibility as you can find. So he does sell some good arrows, specifically arrows of many targets, but he also has 4 items here to check out. And not all of these items load every time. We got pretty lucky here and have all 4 of them loaded. You may have to come back and reset his inventory to get access to all of them. The first is the Scabby Pugilist Circlet. Your weapon and unarmed attacks deal an additional 2 damage while you're surrounded by 2 or more foes. Kind of similar to how the Gloves of the Growling Underdog worked by giving you advantage. But this time it gives you an additional 2 damage. And it works on unarmed attacks. So, somewhat expensive, but again, useful for Astarion if you're willing to give up the momentum, which gives you an additional 3 meters of movement speed. But he has so much movement with his unarmored movement perk that it's probably time to give up on that movement and utilize more damage from the headpiece. Next is the Cloak of Cunning Broom. So when the wearer disengages, they also create a foggy cloud. We've seen this before, I believe.
Yes.
I think it might be in my camp, but it's also sold here again. The Evasive Shoes. give you armor class +1, and these are clothing items. These are not armor types like the Swiresy shoes were previously. These will work on anybody to give them a +1 to their armor class. Okay, so I can give up Vital Conduit here and gain another +1 to my AC. They are expensive. And the last is the Corvid token. So once per long rest, you can polymorph into a dire raven. Now, ravens can blind enemies, which is really, really useful for people who are outside of the darkness you create. Also, if you're not polymorphed, while you're wearing this, your jump and flying speed increases by 1.5 meters. And you gain the Featherfall condition. Okay, now Featherfall will persist while the wearer is polymorphed or wild-shaped. And that means if you're wearing this as a druid, you're going to have Featherfall no matter what shape you take. You don't have to be a dire raven or anything like that. You're always going to have Featherfall. Can be situationally useful for certain specific types, especially when you have taken the Astral Touch Tadpole and you have the fly ability. This gives you an additional 1.5 meters of flying speed, but not really something I'm going to focus on. However, by the time you bring Mattis's attitude up, this becomes really cheap, and there's almost no reason not to take it. So just like normal, we're going to come back for Mattis later. And now we're going to go check in on the warehouse here. And for this, we're going to have a persuasion check. When we talk to Man Up Nestor.
Donations? Do you know advice? The refugees. If you don't have anything to donate, you can get going.
And you saw in the upper left-hand corner the Investigate the Suspicious Toys quest advanced here. So I'm going to try and pass the persuasion check here to let him know something dangerous might be among the donations. Oof, tried to fail it.
I'm gonna let you through because I don't want to take any risks. But you better not be lying.
Okay, and that quest is going to advance. So we're going to go in and search for this. And so we know about the 2 Netherstone quests. They've been advanced. We need to meet Voss at Shressa's Caress. We did help the Devilish Ox. We picked up the apple to try and smuggle him in. We talked to Ferg. He let us know about the House of Grief. We should keep an eye out for Mazora here because she said she was going to be in Worm's Crossing to meet up with her. And then Astarion says that we need to look for taverns and flop houses in Worm's Crossing to try and find the other spawn. We did, and again, this thing keeps updating. I don't know why. Okay, so let's go in here and look around, and not a whole lot of space left, but I'll start with Minthara.
Awaiting orders.
All the stuff outside is marked as steel, but all the stuff inside, most of the stuff inside, I should say, we can search. Okay, now I am going to talk to the pig just because it's humorous.
I say, terribly decent of you to come over and exchange pleasantries.
Now, I'm sorry for my British viewers, but this is a hilarious accent to have on this pig. The aristocratic British nobleman posh accent here on a pig it's hilarious to me. Don't take it personal because I'm sure the undertones of my Texas twang here probably, make all of you chuckle sometimes too, but this is hilarious to me.
Oh, how kind of you to say. I have been growing my bristles out. It's something of an art, you see.
Okay, so now we'll go back to Minthara and we'll keep searching up here. Okay, and again, we're going to do this somewhat systematically. We're going to kind of head down here and take out these, or check out these 2 or 3 piles. Do I feel bad about stealing from the refugees? Absolutely not. This is honor mode. And as such, this is my version of honor, by taking all the gold I can. Okay, now the clothing you're going to notice, and we're going to look at it here in a little bit when we improve our fit a little bit. Alliteration not intended. Is much more fancy than what we were finding in the previous 2 acts, for the most part. And that's a good thing, because that clothing sells for a lot more, but also it can make us look better. Crazy pathing. Go ahead and end my honor mode run by getting me stuck between some crates. Okay, so Nestor saying you shouldn't be stealing from the barn. I'm going to, in a fit of irony, steal his letter off the wall. Okay, so Minthara is now encumbered, and Shadowheart is up next. Okay, and then we'll search these 3 here. Okay, and so let's go into our camp supply packs and send off all of the camp supplies that we have picked up. I'll clear up a little bit of space. And now here for Shadowheart again. This check is going to be an investigation check, which is intelligence based. So where's the warped headband of intellect? It's here. So who has the best investigation chances? It's her. Now, because we've added that in. Okay, we're going to
Can't afford to stay idle.
cast guidance. We're going to shapeshift her.
To keep moving.
And now we'll head in here, and we're going to move up close to the crate.
Trap. Better watch my step.
Okay, now Man Up Nestor's going to come over.
You were right. Explosives. Now give me some room. I need to make sure the rest of these donations are safe.
You try and find whoever is responsible for this.
Okay, now we're going to move Shadowheart back. And Astarion is going to get the Shapeshifter's Boon Ring, and we're going to shapeshift Astarion. Okay, we're going to leave the Sleight of Hand ring on. He's still got the necklace on. We're going to go disarm this crate. Not while I am encumbered, though. Because this is a pretty high DC. Okay, so we want all the bonuses and advantages we can get here. Oof. I'm gonna have to roll decent here on Mark of the Shifter and Guidance. I didn't. But I got enough. Now that's a little disturbing for me. I'm old enough to remember something called Teddy Ruxpin, which was a talking and singing teddy bear animatronic back in the day, that you could buy for children. It was one of the most disturbing things I think you could ever get for a child. But kids loved it, and that reminds me of that is what that does. It kind of takes me back a little bit. But an explosive talking teddy bear, yeah, disturbing. Because that's all that there are. 3 surprise-based teddy bears. The teddy bear toy is stuffed with explosives. Still adorable. Oh, jeez. Disturbing.
I thought this assignment was going to be dull. No such luck.
Okay, so we'll take everything else that we can out of here. Okay, the donations chest, don't take from it. It's marked as steal. And the last 2 items here. Okay, so that last thing, put her over. Alright. So now let's make sure we have our gear sorted again. So we don't need the Justicier's Great Shield. Oh, that gives us advantage on perception checks. Okay, so that's why I had it. I missed the bottom line there. That's why I don't need the Sentinel Shield. The Sentinel Shield will give me the alert perk, so to speak. That's why I normally have it around. So, Astarion. Okay, and then the pendant. No. There it is. That goes there, and then the blind sight ring for now on Astarion as well. Everything else looks like it's set. Okay, the reason is because we're going to go do something here. Well, we're going to go get into a fight. but we're running out of inventory space fairly quickly. We just have a little bit left on Minthara and myself. We have enough to do what I have planned here, but pretty quickly we're going to want to go clear out our inventory. That means we're going to need to adjust the attitudes on some of these vendors that we want to buy from, and I want to do all of that at the same time. I want to get all their attitudes raised at once rather than trying to, or doing it one at a time. So that means I need to get into our last vendor, which is not here in Rivington. It's in Worms Crossing. And I need to go through a couple of encounters before I get there. So again, be very careful when you're walking around out here. All of this stuff is marked as steel. Okay, so be careful what you're clicking on out here. We're not going to head up this way yet. Okay, you can have an encounter here.
We've got to get Grunchin at the city, but he's in no shape to travel. I wonder, what if we hit him in a big barrel and nailed it shut? Nah. Don't know how we're going to get Grunchin to the city, wounded as he is, but we have to.
Okay, so Grunch here is going to have a medicine check. Okay, medicine +3, +8 with Shadowheart. So we want to have the conversation with Shadowheart.
Whatever you need, I can't help you. Even talking is painful right now.
And because you're a cleric, you get advantage on that check.
After a quick examination, you conclude that your patient is pretending to be wounded. You wonder why.
Really? This isn't necessary. I'm sure there are other people that need your help more urgently. Shh, not so loud. If those lads find out I'm faking, they might go off on their own. They're not ready for that. And frankly, I'd miss them. I don't really have any other friends, and I like those lads. So I think I'll stick around a while more.
Okay, so nothing else other than that. You don't see Grunch or anybody else later. That's the extent of it. But now over here you can see some familiar faces. We have Umi and I, but we also have Zoru, Bex, and Danis, and Saris here.
Don't take that on yourself.
What's up for discussion?
You know who's real.
What a sad situation. The once proud Tieflings of Elturel, reduced to beggars.
So, you survived. That's more than many of my kin can say. It's mainly anger that keeps me going. Zevlor was supposed to lead us, but he froze when we needed him most. I haven't seen him since the massacre on the road, which is lucky for him. We made it alive to Baldur's Gate. Almost, anyway. But I can't complain. When I look at Bex and realize she's safe, it's hard not to weep from joy.
We made it through hell, twice. I know now that as long as Danis and I stick together, we can do anything.
Okay, so they're doing the best they can here as refugees. And here you have Fist Rowan. Now this is a special encounter, and you want to have this one here. There are 5 of these encounters. Only the first 2 will be special encounters. The others after that will be normal encounters with them as NPCs. So we want to start by talking to Fist Rowan here. One, because he's got a detection cone.
Hail, friend. Fine day, isn't it? Forgive me, you're in no mood to talk about the weather. Your journey here was a hard one, no doubt. Is this your first time in Baldur's Gate? It's a fine city, isn't it? No better place to hail from. Used to be you'd arrive knowing you'd a full belly and a warm bed waiting for you. Not anymore. These days, there's barely enough to go around. Add the refugees on top and, well, folk aren't feeling too generous. Tensions. That's putting it mildly. Some well-to-dos in the city donated enough to see the newcomers right for the time being. Only they didn't bother helping everyone else. Locals going without while strangers feast. It stoked the fire, all right. Some Baldurians are kicking up a fuss round the front of the barn as we speak. If I wasn't wearing this uniform, I'd walk round there and teach them a lesson they'd never forget.
Okay, so you have some options here, and you better read these fairly closely, because there is some approvals and disapprovals here, but the top one isn't necessarily the do-gooder expectation that you've kind of been led to believe.
What peace. If no one steps in, there'll be bodies piled high in the streets before long. Those refugees have been leeching on our city for too long. If we don't show them that we mean business, they'll bleed us dry. We need to march round the front and kill every last one of them. Let's see them eat our food with their guts on the floor. What do you say? Why does it matter? Innocence makes the blood run clearer.
Look at it, come crawling home, hands stained with the Bone Lord's soot. And you carry his stone. Have you lost your nerve, my blood-starved sibling? Oh, did I mangle your skull too terribly? I could end it now, but I'll be patient. Father will see us together again. He will see you bleed.
Okay, you're going to get an inspiration for that.
How long has she been watching?
And you learn that Orin now is able to shapeshift into people. And when she does that, that means that the person she'd shapeshifted into, she's kidnapped them and they're dead. So you can't interact with them as NPCs. Now, out of the 5, 1 of them is very important. The other 2 you can have normal interactions with and have some dialogue with them. And those 3 you want to save, quote unquote, by not allowing Orin to kidnap them and kill them and take their place. So this fist here has no other interactions with you. If this is not Orin in disguise. So the other one that we're going to meet here in a little bit is going to die already. And so it just makes sense that you talk to them because they're dead anyway. And that leaves the other 3 to basically turn into, quote-unquote, regular NPCs, because Orin only takes the place of the first 2 that you talk to. Okay, so this is the first one. I'm going to show you the second one here in a little bit. But first, I'm going to break my group.
Watch your back. On tippy toes.
Go into hiding. Okay, we're going to take some fairly expensive jewels and some gold out of that chest there. Now, Astarian's encumbered again.
Wonder if the gods are watching
Okay,
me.
the rest of this stuff out here is all marked as steel. Okay, so we're going to continue and make our way around the outside here.
Anything of use?
Okay, and you used to be able to have a conversation with these three. I don't think you can anymore.
Seems like a good moment to talk.
If you're here to fill an empty stomach, look elsewhere. Folks swarmed what little was odd, stuffing their pockets. Bloody animals.
Yeah, because I think it's all just listening.
First, friend. You're welcome to whatever scraps we leave behind.
Yeah, there used to be an option here
Back off! I found these apples first.
where you could have a conversation with them to decide how much of it you were going to take and trying to persuade them not to take anything from this. But that no longer seems to be an option now.
Starving folk tend not to.
If they just lined up and taken their fair shares, we've had plenty for everyone.
Okay, so we're going to continue around the outside over here.
What's hiding here?
That might be worth a look.
And find the dirt mount. Okay, now down around the corner over here, we can see the Gur. Now, we've had an encounter with the Gur before when we dealt with Gandrel back in the swamp. So Astarian is probably not going to be very welcome down here, but we're going to leave Astarian in our party and go down here anyway. And I think without Gandrel being here, I think there's a religion check or an insight check. I'm just gonna go in here. Whoops.
I'm ready.
With guidance on.
Keep it together. Pave my path with corpses. Build my castle with bones.
Exterminate it. Nothing less will do.
If we fail, who will stand between them and the...
Rechtei Hathran Rust. Frey Valdisk Durovna. Frey Vald Iskablast.
You recognize the funeral rites of the Gur people, the same monster hunters you met in the Hag Swamp. Their leader is burning the possessions of those who have fallen.
Im Orak. Nete. Krasin. Netra. So, the impossible spawn walks among us in the blazing sun. We have been looking for you.
Now, if Gandrel is here, if you did not fight him in the swamp, you don't have to pass that religion check. He explains what's happening here, and he's on good terms with Astarian. Even though he was looking for Astarian previously, he's no longer looking for him.
The last time your friend came to our camp, he stole our children, our future. When we sent Gandrel after you, we wanted to interrogate you, to discover how to save our children and then destroy you. But things have changed. You have changed. Is it true you left your master? That you broke the spell that binds you to him?
Well, I mean, kind of. It's a long story, honestly.
We are not. But perhaps we can give you a chance to do deeds just as worthy of song. We have tried to save our children once already, attacking Khazad-dûr'Zar's palace at first light. Even then, it was too well defended. But if his own spawn approached, someone he thought he could control, he would throw his doors open and welcome you in. And once inside, you could do what we could not. You could save the children you damned.
You don't know Khazad-dûr like I do. He's merciless. You want me to march into the lion's den and save your children? But I promise you, they're already dead. I spent 200 years bringing him victims. Each and every one was whisked away to be fed on that night.
But you never saw him feed yourself. He could keep prisoners for days before killing them. If our children are truly gone, then we ask for blood. I know you can understand that, Spawn.
I suppose. Yes. Yes. Revenge, I can do.
Thank you. From me and all my people. If you can do this, we will be in your debt. You have lived a life of violence and sin. You have stolen lives, broken families, and caused immeasurable grief. Doing this will not right those wrongs.
If you're trying to encourage me, you're failing abysmally.
But it will be a start. You may still be redeemed. Please go. Time is short, but we will see you again when it is done. Do not stand here and wait. Khazad-dûr must be destroyed.
Okay, so that's going to advance the Pale Elf quest. We now need to go in and specifically kill Khazad-dûr and try and rescue the children while we're in there. So we need to go find Arfur at Sharessa's Caress. We will be able to do that a little bit later. Okay, we're going to continue around the outside here. Yeah, we have a little bit of space on me.
I'll take that.
So we'll pick up a few items up here. We can make our way back down. Okay, so now we're going to go into this center area here, where this windmill is.
The innocent will suffer just the same. I share. We have no good choice.
Okay, no interactions that you can have of any consequence here. But you do want to go looking around.
It was a wonderful idea. Just what we needed.
Gonna get another earthquake. And there's a dirt mound here. Okay, an elixir of psychic resistance. That's pretty good. Okay, and then we will head up here. Now, this is an investigation check, I believe. And it's a stupid check. So yeah, nobody's any good at any of them. I could bring Gale in here and try and pass it, but there's no real reason. There's nothing of any consequence in this haystack here. I'm just going to click on it and try and pass it, but I'm going to need a nat 20 to pass it.
Fresh orders?
What now?
Okay. If you find it, you'll find a little chest inside that just has a couple of random things in it. It's not worth anything at all. And it's a DC 25 check. I have no idea why that check is so high. For what you get out of it, there's no other consequences to it that I can see, or that I can determine. It's just an incredibly high check for nothing. So now we'll bring Astarion up here and lockpick the door. Okay, now I have a little space here in my inventory, so I'm going to go through and search and pick these things up. Didn't have as much space as I thought, so Minthara has space left. Okay, and then
Can't give up now.
you have this hatch. Okay, over here you have a sleeping Mindflayer. I'm gonna put everybody in hiding.
Dream in red.
I'm gonna move to the back side of the Mindflayer here. Now you have a couple of choices. You can just attack it, but you can also get a surprise round out of this. So I'm just gonna, what you're missing out on is the first crit that you're going to get for attacking it while it's asleep. But I'm not too worried about it here.
Before you lies the unconscious body of a mind flayer, glistening and raw.
A newborn, unattended. How fortunate. Oh, but it is. This one has only just transformed. It is weak, vulnerable. Its potential ripe for harvesting. Go on, kill it. Absorb its power. Just like you did before.
Okay, and here we're just going to pick the Paladin option. Just to try and end it. We're not going to sneak away. We're not going to wake it up. We're going to get a surprise round out of it by picking this option.
What? No! I've had so little time!
Okay, this is going to drop us into combat. And we can see the detection cone here for this. Okay, so I'm going to immediately start by getting Hex active. Okay, now I'm not attacking with advantage here, and I want to be attacking with advantage. So I'm going to have Shadowheart. Drop darkness on top of us. That's going to give me advantage, and now I'm going to be doing the additional psychic damage. Okay. So, nice. So, rolled 2 nat 20s. Okay. Not gonna argue, I guess.
Can't give up.
Shadowheart can move in and make an attack. And now Astarion can just move in here and end this.
The creature was born recently. Its mind is still fresh. You can absorb its potential if you consume it.
Okay, so here you're going to get the Ring of Truthfulness. Here you gain an advantage on insight checks, which is nice. We've had a couple of insight checks. You could come here beforehand and prep for those checks a little bit better, but it is going to serve us going forward to have it. So there's some orders here that you can read. This used to be a flaming fist. You will be one of us now. There's the windmill key, which not entirely sure how you get down here other than the ladder that you came down where you had to get in anyway. And then you have the Mindflayer brain. Okay, so if you take the Mindflayer brain, we're at 9 tadpoles, and you consume it, we're now at 10. Okay, so Minthara has some space in her inventory.
I shall investigate.
So we'll do some searching down here real quick. Okay, just a few more. Here, there's also a letter. This is basically that debts are owed on the windmill, otherwise they're going to take it and repossess it. That's why it looks somewhat abandoned. Okay, looks like Minthara is full.
Anything of value?
Just a couple more burlap sacks over here, I think.
Moving out.
Okay, so just that one. So let's go send our camp supplies home. And this should free up enough space between everybody to get us unencumbered again. Yes, it did. But now we are completely full. Okay, we have our trash bags, obviously, which we can use. But let's head up. And we'll leave the windmill. Okay, so now a couple of things that, a couple of different branching paths, I guess, that we can take. We want to bring up the attitude with these vendors, and as part of that, we're also going to have an encounter that near one of those vendors. And that's going to take us up toward the Worms Crossing Bridge. Okay, so that's where we are going to head.
Before I saw the giant metal monsters guarding the checkpoint. What's the worst that can happen if we get caught sneaking in? My words.
Okay, now we're back down on the main road.
I'll give them a piece of my mind. Something over there.
Okay, we're going to have another encounter here, but again, what we're interested in doing now is unlocking the last, or the second to last vendor. And that means we're going to have to cross the bridge. And that means we're going to have this encounter here. Now, I would recommend that you drop a save. I think you're going to get an autosave here anyway. Because depending upon the placement of your party members, this can glitch out something else that you want to do in the future. And if it does, you'll instantly know that it's going to do it. And if that glitch happens again, I'm going to reset this if that happens. So drop a save beforehand. Like I say, I think you're going to get an autosave as we move up. There it is. Okay, and we're going to move up here just with one of our party members until the cutscene triggers.
Halt! By orders of Lord Gortash, refugees are no longer allowed in the city. Turn around. Or do you have the means to support yourself? Right. Article 30.1.5 of the Council's Decree on Extraordinary Wartime Measures. I am confiscating that. The city thanks you for your contribution. Your name?
Well met, citizen.
Your parasite stirs. From the construct, you feel connection, resonance.
I am a Steel Watcher, citizen. Here to serve the people of Baldur's Gate in the name of Lord Enver Gortash.
State your business. Uh-huh. Eyes open, body still.
Behind the Watcher's gaze, a presence awakens. You are seen. You are known. Your party's prior transgressions are reflected in its stare, as witnessed by the cult's ever-alert, scrying eyes. It has heard the howls of slaughtered goblins. It knows the cold walls of Moonrise Towers, and the cultists who fell there. The Watcher speaks directly into your mind with a voice like poisoned honey.
You are marked for special treatment. Not simply an enemy of the people, but an enemy of the Absolute. Come quietly, or die.
Okay, if you don't want to ready yourself for a fight. I've seen that trigger this glitch more often than others, so I'm going to consent to a rest.
Your peaceful surrender has been noted. You will be transferred to Worms Rock Prison, where you will await further sentencing.
Eat this, you pile of junk!
You were witnessed assaulting someone.
So this is the glitch here. And this is going to be a problem. Okay, so give me just a second. depending upon the positioning of the Steel Watcher, the grenade can sometimes have unintended consequences. Okay? That you've been accused of assaulting someone thing is going to cause all of the Ironhand Gnomes in their hideout to be automatically hostile to you as soon as you walk in the door. And you lose out on any of the interactions with any of the Ironhand Gnomes because of it. I don't know why it does that. I have no idea. We're going to do it one more time. If it doesn't work, we're going to bypass the encounter. We don't have to have this encounter. But it's good to illustrate it if we can get it to work. Okay, because there is a story arc here behind it. We just cannot have that "we want you to be arrested" thing. It doesn't work. And like I say, I think my guess is that it has to do more with the position of the Steel Watcher. If the Steel Watcher moves off to the right, or something like that, I think this can go worse. So we're going to fast forward through all of this. If it happens again, we will just bypass this encounter.
Right. Your name?
Well,
your parasite stirs.
I am a steel.
State your business. Uh-huh. Eyes open, body still.
Behind the Watcher's gaze, a presence awakens. You are seen. You are known. Your party's prior transgressions are reflected in its stare, as witnessed by the cult's ever-alert, scrying eyes. It has heard the howls of slaughtered goblins. It knows the cold walls of Moonrise Towers, and the cultists who fell there. The Watcher speaks directly into your mind with a voice like poisoned honey.
You are marked for special treatment. Not simply an enemy of the people, but an enemy of the Absolute. Come quietly, or die. Your peaceful surrender has been noted. You will be transferred to Worms Rock Prison, where you will await further sentencing.
Eat this, you pile of junk!
Okay, there it worked correctly. Okay. And again, I think it has more to do with the positioning of the Steel Watcher and the grenade blast radius. And who it affects and who it doesn't. Okay. So it's a little odd and a little strange as to when it works and when it doesn't work. We're definitely going to drop a save now that it's done. Okay. And we're going to head down this way. I probably should not have dropped that save, come to think of it. But I'm pretty sure this is the trigger. The survival check is just for the cave entrance. You don't need to pass it. Okay, and we're going to head into the cave entrance here. Now, you will instantly know if you've gotten the glitch or not. And we did not. If you've gotten that interaction from the Steel Watcher to you've transgressed and you want to be taken away to prison, as soon as you walk in here, both of those Ironhand Gnomes will be standing here and they will both be hostile. Everybody inside the Ironhand Gnome hideout in here will also be hostile to you. And that includes a couple of people we are very familiar with.
The boss is expecting you. Hasn't forgotten what you did for him at Moonrise.
Okay, and these are the Ironhand Gnomes, and that means that the boss is Wolbrin. You can see there's names that we recognize. Thola and Nimble are in here with Philomene. Remember her again. Before we have any conversations, we're going to go into the back here, though. And talk with Wolbrin.
What's up for discussion?
Good to see you. Wasn't sure you'd make it to the city. Regretting it yet? I spent a lot of time thinking of worst-case scenarios while I was locked in that cell you plucked me out of at Moonrise. I didn't imagine anything as bad as this. The Gondians have handed Enver Gortash the means to bring about the end of liberty in Baldur's Gate. And the citizens have rolled out the red carpet for the new tyrant. Resistance fighters are few and far between. My iron hands, what's left of the Harpers, and you. I hope. As long as our objective is the same, the reason doesn't matter to me. We have a common enemy. But neither of us gets what we want until we deal with our biggest obstacle. The Steel Watch. They're a threat to you, me, and every man, woman, and child in this city. They act all civilized, servants of the people, but they only serve one man. When he becomes Grand Duke, it will only get worse. Laws will change, freedoms will vanish, and soon you'll be accused and sentenced before you've even committed a crime. And the fucking Gondians are to blame for all of it.
Okay, Wolbrin's a little bit upset.
A tyrant's nothing without lackeys. And the Gondians are the perfect lackeys. Dangerously intelligent, pathetically submissive. They invented the Steel Watchers, and they're building an army of them. They've always been happy to provide their technology to despots in exchange for a stipend and the freedom to work in peace. They would have licked Saravok's boots, given the chance. And now they'll kiss Gortash's ring while this city screams. I had a plan to put a stop to them. But the way things are now, if we stick our heads above ground, the Watchers are on us like flies on shit.
Okay, so his statement there about they would have looked Saravok's boots is a bit of revisionist history. The reason the Ironhand Gnomes are outcasts in the city of Baldur's Gate is because they cooperated with Saravok during the events of the previous game. A long 20 years ago. And as such, trying to blame the Gondians for doing what the Iron Hands actually did back then, like I say, some revisionist history.
Same as it always is. Eliminate the threat. In this case, the foundry where these atrocities are produced. The Gondians are ingenious, but we're more than equal to them. There's nothing they can build that the Iron Hands can't tear down. I've built something unique for just that purpose. A rune powder bomb. First of its kind. 50 wizards high on the weave couldn't summon this kind of firepower. Get the bomb inside the Gondian facility, and boom. Problem solved.
Wolbrin, please. This is too far. Everyone in the foundry would be killed.
Quiet, Barkus. The adults are talking. Ha! I knew you were the practical sort. That's why we get along. The foundry is in the lower city, down by the docks. Beautiful building, belching smoke into the sky day and night. Getting inside won't be easy, but when you do, place the bomb at the heart of the facility. Get yourself back to street level. The streets will be clear of Watchers in no time.
Okay, and for that, we get the rune powder bomb. This is a big bomb. Automatically critically hits objects and environments. And yeah, it goes boom. There's a lot of YouTube videos of creative uses of the Rune Powder Bomb, and also some very stupid uses of the Rune Powder Bomb. For now, we are definitely going to send this off to our camp. We're not going to be needing it for a long while, and it is pretty heavy.
A rune powder bomb? Ah, what the devil has he become?
Okay, now, Barkus is still a trader, and if you get a break in the conversation, you can trade with him. Once this conversation ends, you won't have that option again. As soon as you click on him, he will just say, or he'll give you a dialogue, and then the conversation will end, and you won't be able to click on trade, and you won't get a trade dialogue option. So I'm going to click trade here. And for this, you can see that he has all of the same items that you traded back to him in your previous encounter. And I should have taken my shapeshift off here to do this. But I'm going to pick up the potion of invisibility, the potion of speed, the arrow of many targets, the smoke powder arrow. Don't need the arrow of construct slaying or beast slaying. And I think that's it. I'll take the Harlequin black and white dye though. That actually looks pretty cool. Okay, and I'll balance that offer. Again, if I had not been shapeshifted here, then his attitude would be at 100 from the previous axe. And I get this for cheaper, but not too worried about it.
The Wulbrin I know. The one who skipped rocks with me in the Underdark. He's still in there. I know it. But his hate for the Gondians has blinded him. He believes they work for the Absolute willingly. But it's not true. I'm sure of it. Something is wrong. Very wrong. Please, speak to them before you do anything. They deserve a chance to plead their case before being blown to pieces, don't you think? That's all I ask. Questions first, violence later. And only if absolutely necessary.
And again, now you can see if you click on him.
Gondians respond well to reason. So when you meet them, be reasonable.
Okay, there's no option to trade with him again after the fact. You get that one chance there to trade with him. Before you come down, or before you leave, hit the lever here. That's going to unlock the trap door at the top of the ladder here. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk to some of the other people that we know in here.
Those things are terrifying. If someone hadn't been there. But they were. And I'm here now. I'm safe. Awkward, in a word. She's made it quite clear she doesn't want me around. When I think about it, I'm not sure she ever did. I was foolish. I just want to be useful, but I'm not as good at this as the others. But I'll get better.
Okay, so we can go talk to Philomene.
Now you've spoken to the big man? Good to see you. Never thought I'd meet you again, let alone fight on the same side. Glad we both made it out of Grimforge alive, and that I didn't have to use that rune powder to make a point. Funny. You're gonna need that sense of humor here. I overheard you're gonna be helping us fight the good fight. Knew I would have regretted blowing you up. Better get on with it then. Wulbrin wouldn't have put his trust in you for nothing.
Scared or we escaped that bloody Steel Watcher. No thanks to you. We did, but we very nearly didn't. Everything's lining up for the Iron Hands, though. Wulbren's about to put his grand plan into action. I don't know. I thought he would have calmed down after we got him away from that place, but there's something else here disturbing him. You are? Excellent. With someone like you on board, they can't fail.
Okay, she mentioned Nichols, and Nichols is here.
It stopped, but it'll happen again. It keeps happening. The shivering, shaking, quaking. Don't you feel it? There's something underneath the city, inside the rock. But when I ask the stone why it shakes, it only screams. I want to go home.
Okay, more true than you would know, and we're going to learn much more about that later. Here's Thola.
Like baking a cake. Gonna help us clear those watchers from the streets? Good. The watchers are only a weapon. If you want peace, you don't just break the sword, you kill the one who wields it.
Okay, and then over here is Dulbers and Hoagie. These are new.
Look, unless you're an expert in Steel Watcher gyroscopics, please get out of my light.
And we haven't met them before.
2 days just to get hold of a Steel Watcher optic module. And for what? Waste of time we don't have.
And then the last person is Bumpnagel.
You think I want my clan facing down one of those walking death machines with cutlery? Then leave me to my work. Only if you're quick.
Now, Bumpnagel is one of the vendors that we're going to up our attitude with, specifically because of the flash blinders. This is what you saw them use at the gate. It blinds a target, any target, okay, which is important. This is a blinding grenade, first and foremost. However, if that target's a Steel Watcher, it stuns the Steel Watcher for 2 turns. Okay? And that Steel Watcher then, when it wakes up, has a 1d6 penalty to attack rolls. Right? So, this is a way to disable Steel Watchers. It trivializes any encounter that you are going to have with a Steel Watcher. It makes it the easiest fight ever by being able to stun them at will by throwing these. Now, 4 of them are expensive. It's 1,200 gold. They're 400 gold, give or take, a piece. Once you up his attitude and you have 150% discount, this goes down to 785, I think, or something, 758, something like that. You definitely want to come back here and stock up on these, 12 to 16 of them. You're going to need them for the final Steel Watcher fight in the lower city, but they also do very, very well against the Steel Watchers that you're going to have to fight at the top of Worm's Rock Fortress and any other fights that you may get into the Steel Watchers with. So definitely come back here, buy them, level up, and that sort of stuff. They also sell smoke powder bombs, which are always really nice to have, and he has a good selection of all the best possible arrows. So you may have to refresh these to get the ones that you want, but he has a really good selection. The 3 things here in the middle are the other items that we're going to look at. The Martial Exertion Gloves gives you Martial Exertion as a class action. That means you can do 6d6 piercing damage to yourself to gain an additional attack and double your movement for that turn. It's like Action Surge, but an Action Surge that causes you damage to be able to use it. Now, you can minimize that damage by being resistant to piercing damage. So if you have Blade Ward on or something like that, it will help avoid some of that damage. But it's a really good thing to have as your kind of Nova Burst first round damage dealer. If you put this on somebody who already has Action Surge, this allows you to double that up and combine it with an Elixir of Viciousness and a Potion of Speed. You can get up to 5 sets of actions in a turn, which is incredibly powerful to have when you do it. So you can get 1 from your normal action, you can get the 2nd from your Potion of Speed, you can get the 3rd from an Elixir of Viciousness once you make a kill, you can get your 4th from Martial Exertion here, and you can get your 5th from the extra attack that you're able to make in each one. So you can do a lot of damage in one turn here using the Martial Exertion gloves. Next is Nimble Finger gloves. I tend not to get these. It gives you a bonus to dexterity if you're small, more to gnomes than halflings and dwarves, and sleight of hand +1, but not something that really interests me to have. You can put these on Karlach when we shapeshift her into a dwarf to gain +1 dexterity, but it's really not worth it. And the last is the Thunder Palm Strikers. This is one of the gloves in the set that allows you to do elemental damage with your unarmed attacks and cast a spell. In this case, it's Thunder Wave. Thunder damage is something always to keep on hand. If you know an enemy is going to be vulnerable to it, then having these available in your inventory to swap out to is really nice. Again, we're not going to buy anything from Bumpnagel right now until we up his attitude with us, and we're not going to do that right now. Okay, so instead of walking all the way out, we're just going to fast travel back to Rivington. And we'll head back up the road and check out our 4th vendor. So we have Ferg, we have Mattis, we have Bumpnagel, and now our 4th vendor's down here. Now, it's important when you're coming down here, do not talk to Gildro. Not yet. But you can go down here around the corner and head into Angleiron Smithy.
Hi! Welcome to the... Hi! Want a blade? Or a bow? Or a dagger? Or maybe a spear is more your thing? You look like you know how to use a spear. By spear. What'd you say, huh?
Bronze dragons, by the way, do look really cool.
Sorry. I just get so excited doing the best job ever. Yeah, I get to talk to people all day and work for the best damn smith in all of Rivington, Gildro Angleiron. He's a living legend. Do you know he's won Best Smith in Rivington 7 years in a row? And he says that if I move enough stock, I might even get to have a go on the anvil. I mean, I love what I do, don't get me wrong, but actually doing something with my hands and all that fire, I'd give anything to do what he does. Oh God, don't tell him I said that, will you? I really love my job, promise. Oh, yay!
Okay, now Exviciap here is going to have, again, all of the best arrows in the game. There's also going to be some other items that we definitely want to pick up here. Now, Ambusher is actually really nice at this point in the game. It's going to fall off a little bit in comparison to a couple of other things you're going to get later, But for your Gloomstalker Assassin, the Ambusher streak gives you an additional 1d6 necrotic damage against creatures that haven't taken a turn yet. That first turn for the Gloomstalker Assassin, you're getting critical hits on everybody that hasn't taken a turn yet. So now you're getting an additional 1d6 necrotic damage against those same people, and you're doubling it for the crit. So really, really nice. Comes with Sentinel, so you gain a +1 to initiative rolls and advantage on perception ability checks. So you're getting that with a weapon, not with a piece of armor. So can be kind of nice. Light and finesse, meant to be dual wielded. Then you have the Dancing Breeze. The Dancing Breeze is a +2 glaive. That's it. However, it comes with a proficiency unlock. And that's Whirlwind Attack. So all nearby foes that are within reach of you, you make separate attack rolls against each target. It's kind of like an improved version of the glaive ability, Cleave, where Cleave is limited to 3 targets. Here you can strike out at all of them, all the way around you. Very situational, not something that I spend my money on. The Bonespike Garb, however, I am going to be purchasing. Now, you gain 15 temporary hit points whenever you rage or frenzy. Straight up all the time, and when you quit your rage or your frenzy, those 15 temporary hit points stay there. However, the other thing is you reduce all incoming damage by 2. When the wearer is struck by a melee attack, the attacker takes 2 piercing damage, so it's a response thing. It's like Thorn's ability that you see on some armors and other games. However, what's important here is the reducing incoming damage by 2. And there's a reason that's going to become more important as we look at a few other things. These are just +2 armors, +1 heavy plate, until you get down to Swire's Sledboard. So the only thing that's special about this is the Shield Conduit perk. So you start out with Force Conduit at the start of your turn. Okay, so this reduces all types of physical damage against you by 1 for every turn remaining. Now, with the sled board, you're never going to have more than 1 turn. It's always going to be just that 1. At the start of turn, you get it, and then at the start of the next turn, you get it again. So the second part, where if you have 5 or more turns of it, you deal 1d4 force damage in 6-meter radius, is never going to happen with just the sled board. Now, you can combine it with other items to get you that. But again, for what this gives you, it's not really very useful. And last is the Stalker Gloves. Now again, for your Gloomstalker Assassin, these gloves are going to give that first sneak attack that you get an additional 1d4 force damage. Can be nice. Again, I'm not going that route with any of my builds, so I'm not going to be going down that way. But again, I'm not going to buy anything here until I up the attitude.
Want more? Want less? Want to sell? Want to buy? You know where I am. Bye!
Okay, we will now continue on down where there's a perception check here going by the well. Oh, I must have already gotten it when I walked by here earlier. We're not going to go into the Open Hand Temple. We're not going to go into Sword Coast Couriers yet. Instead, now that the Steel Watcher is disabled, we can just walk right through all of this. Now, if you want to avoid that, the way to avoid it is by making your way up through all of this. There is a man up here that you can have a conversation with, but you can come down here, jump over, climb up, and come up this way to avoid the front gate. You would just have to make a persuasion check here with man up. So we're going to get a waypoint here. And a save. And that opens up the south span of Worm's Crossing waypoint, which is very useful to move north and south through here. We're going to keep moving. Sharessa's Caress is here. This is the flop house that we're going to need to go look at.
What does it feel like?
But what we're looking for is our final vendor, and we don't mean the vendors that are out here in the streets. We're not going to be using them enough to justify it. This here is Danthelon's dancing axe. And we mentioned it when we walk up. This is what Jaheira wanted us to check in with. So let's go back to camp. Let's pick up Jaheira.
So Bal's chosen is a doppelganger. I should not be surprised. They have ever been among his favorite servants. Orin is testing you. Either she thinks herself a predator, playing with her food, or she fears what you might do. She spoke to you in a rather familiar fashion. More shapeshifter mind games, I suppose.
Or the fact that she knows us from our Dark Urge background. We have a nature check here we can make. It doesn't really matter if we make it, though. Oh, we did.
Shape-shifting monstrosities of unknown origin. Doppelgangers are unnatural predators. Their latent empathic abilities helping them to know, imitate, and eventually replace their prey.
Exactly. The last time I fought doppelgangers, the Balspawn Sarevok was using them to subvert the city government, aid his rise to power. But Orin, he's more predator than politician, I think. She simply wants to make us feel hunted, isolated. Tell the Lordling that Orin is watching. Seems that Gortash and Orin have had a little falling out. We should leverage that.
Okay, we're going to have some conversations with Jaheira here because we're going to be bringing her into our party.
You think me lonely? In truth, I prefer travel in a small pack such as this. Unburdened by numbers, we're free to act rather than react. A little like the old days. With allies every bit as peculiar. Give or take a few tadpoles. Would you? In time, then. Perhaps once you found a rocking chair for me to doze off in. That speaks well of your taste. I've heard my share of bad ballads about things I never did. If you have questions, ask. Just don't expect my answers to rhyme. It was Baal alone we faced in our time. And bad as that was, he had no elder brain for a lapdog then. Help won't come from the history books, or from any old tales I can spin you. This is your story to write. There. Have I fulfilled my role as your wise and wizened elder? Don't tell me which. Against all life experience, I will choose to assume the best. Ask it. More than I would like. In my youth, I was a brief and very much unwilling member of a colony's hive mind. I felt the way they think, saw the world as they do. Foul, unnatural creatures who find the foulness in us and twist it to their will. But then, who am I speaking to? You have far more experience than I. Then, greetings, Sir Tadpole. I was wondering where all the questions suddenly sprang from.
Okay, so we're going to bring her into the party.
Free up your ranks a little first.
And we're going to have Minthara stay here.
At your command.
Okay, now there's no real reason for us to do anything with Jaheira here. We're bringing her along for a specific interaction. I actually do not want to level her up. And the reason for it is because I'm going to be reclassing, dropping my level to 1, going to all 5 of these vendors, donating 400 gold to them, upping their attitude, and then I'm going to raise my levels back up to where it is now so that I can get my persuasion up to a plus 15 or a plus 13. That gives me 150% max discount on items. And then I can buy for 1 round from the vendors. Then I can level Jaheira up once, and I can go back to all 5 vendors with the max discount. I can level her up again and do it. The only question to be whether Jaheira is going to die during this encounter that we're about to have. And it is possible. So I want to look at something. Okay, so I don't have Sanctuary anywhere, so I am going to level her up once. That still leaves me 8 level ups to do for resetting inventories. And I'm not going to level her up as a druid. I'm going to level her up as a cleric. Now, I was going to do this with Jaheira as her multi-class anyway. Doesn't matter which deity you choose. I'm going to choose Yandala since this is of the earth. Okay, the abilities don't really matter, so preparing spells, I'm going to get rid of Inflict Wounds and I'm going to prepare Sanctuary. Okay, and now I'm not going to do anything else with her. She's not going to be part of this fight, and it's not a hard enough fight that I'm going to have to worry about having a handicap in our 4th member, so to speak.
Welcome to Danthelon's dancing wax. Our stock isn't used.
Greetings, sir. Your noble bearing brings a little class to my humble...
You can turn off the charm, Entharl. She's with me.
Blueberries. Thought I had a sale. You look tired, Harper.
I missed you too. They're already here?
Down below. Here's the key. Agreed. Didn't stop Jaheira's lot from nesting in my cellar.
Entharl's no Harper, and claims no love for those who are. But he's been known to shelter us when we need it.
Entharl has been known to charge rent. Harpers have been known to ignore him. Now go on. The short father may send me an actual paying customer today. To buy? You're already my favorite.
Okay, now Danthelon here has some really good items that we're going to be interested in. He can sell a lot of good potions, so elixirs of viciousness and elixirs of bloodlust, you will find those in his inventory. Potions of invisibility, supreme arcane elixirs, arrows of aberration and dragon slaying. Dragon slaying being very, very useful. Arrows of many targets and smoke powder arrows. He has Blightbringer. So attacking gnomes or dwarves with this weapon receives a 1d4 bonus to attack and damage rolls. You don't find a lot of either at this stage in the game. It would have been nice if this was in the Underdark when you were fighting in the Grimforge. But you're not going to find a lot of either of those coming up. However, when this weapon lands a critical hit, it also slows the target creature. And that can be very useful. Slow is kind of slept on, in my opinion, in this game. The movement speed cut in half is okay. its armor class and dexterity saving throws are reduced by 2, making it instantly 10% easier to hit, no matter what. However, it's the other parts that are really important. The entity can't take reactions. Okay, that includes legendary reactions. It can't make more than 1 attack per turn. So if it's got multiple attacks due to its level, it can't make the second one. And it can only take an action or a bonus action. It cannot do both. Then the last thing, any spells cast might be delayed for 1 turn. There's a chance that with a wisdom save, that if it's trying to cast a spell, it won't go off. And it will actually trigger on its next turn, and you have a whole turn to interrupt it. Slowed creatures cannot be hasted, and slowing a creature will end haste that it has cast on it. Slow is an incredibly powerful spell later in the game, when everybody has legendary reactions or things like that it can do, or has multiple attacks, or it can do multiple things with its action and bonus action. Slow can prevent all of that. So Blightbringer can be useful. I prefer just to cast the slow spell instead of waiting on a critical hit to be able to trigger it, so I don't really focus on Blightbringer very much. The Harmonic Dueler is a bard-specific weapon. When you trigger the Mellow Harmony action, you make a performance check, which bards are good at, and if you pass that check, your melee weapon deals additional damage equal to your charisma modifier. Now, normally you have a pretty high charisma, so at this point it's either +3 or +4, and you're adding that additional damage on to the attack, every attack that you make for the next 10 turns. So Harmonic Dueler gives you, in my case, a flat +4 bonus. That is the equivalent of 1d6 on average. 1d6 average is 3.5. So this is an additional 1d6 damage on average to every attack I make for the next 10 turns. Okay, that does not equal what Render of Mind and Body can do. Right? So if you're using that, it doesn't equal out to that, and things that do more than 1d6 bonus damage as a rider are going to out damage Harmonic Dueler. All right, so I don't prefer to use this, but it is there for people who have a specific build for it. Next is Horns of the Berserker, and this is where the Bone Spike Garb comes into play. So, Seeking Blood, you gain a +2 bonus to attack rolls when attacking creatures that have already taken damage. So you just focus your targets on other enemies that have already been hit, and you're going to gain +2 bonus to your attack rolls. Okay, very nice to have, 10% chance to hit increase. Next, unarmed and melee attacks will deal an extra 2 necrotic damage as long as you do not have your full health. If you don't deal any damage that turn, you take 1d4 necrotic damage at the end of your turn. Okay, so the Horns of the Berserker, the 1d4 necrotic damage, that averages out to be 2.5 damage per turn. The Bone Spike Garb reduces all incoming damage by 2. That means that you have a really good chance of not taking any damage from Horns of the Berserker if you don't do any damage on your turn. Okay, now ideally, you would be doing damage on that turn and not worrying about it anyway, but this gives you a way to avoid the downside to it when you pair it with the Bone Spike Garb. Then you get the Cloak of Displacement. This is one of the best cloaks in the game. Every turn, you will gain displacement, which means all enemies will have disadvantage on their attack rolls against you. If they keep missing, you keep being displaced. As soon as they hit you, displacement disappears, but then as soon as the next turn starts, displacement comes back. It's a huge defensive boost for anybody who gets it. So it's a must-have for most playthroughs. The Gauntlets of the War Master are great for your Battle Master fighter builds, or if you just have a dip into it on a multi-class. Targets have disadvantage on saving throws against your maneuver and weapon actions. So that means your disarming strike, your pushing attack, all of those things that have a saving throw that goes along with them. This will have them have disadvantage on that saving throw, which means you're much more likely to make those things land. It's also going to give you a straight +1 bonus to all of your attack rolls. Last thing he has are the last piece of the elemental glove set, the snow-dusted monastery gloves. This gives you an additional 1d4 cold damage to all of your strikes. Cold damage isn't resisted very much in this game, so this is a way to add that in. It also allows you to cast Ice Knife once per long rest. Okay, so again, this is where we're going to start by upping his attitude. But that won't happen
Jaheira needs more friends like you.
until we deal with what's in the basement. He gave us a key that's going to open this door. Okay, and this is going to take us down the iron ladder. Now, as soon as we go down here, we're going to get into a fight. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually drop Jaheira out. No, I'm actually not, because I need her to be in here.
This ought to be good.
Let's give her the Sentinel Shield to give her a +3 bonus on her initiative. So hopefully she rolls well in initiative. But we have Alert on Shadowheart to be able to cast Darkness. Alert on me. And Astarion doesn't have it. He's just got high dex.
Let's move.
Okay, so let's go down here, and like I say, we're going to get into a conversation. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually cast Sanctuary on Jaheira right now.
Can't give up now. Don't waste a step.
Hi, Harper. May Seluna's tears shine on this meeting.
A very formal greeting, Geraldus. You are well?
Yes. Hi, Harper. Standing beneath Seluna's tears.
The lad's a little nervous, Jaheira. We heard of your great victory against Ketheric.
I understand, Geraldus. Take a moment. And you, Harper. There is something familiar about you. Something singular. Absolute, wouldn't you say?
Absolute. Jaheira seems to believe that all is not right with these Harpers, that they're somehow connected to the cult.
Okay, so here you can remain silent and wait for Jaheira's signal. And that's going to get you I believe, I'm trying to remember, and I didn't have this written down on my notes. Strike while Jaheira has them distracted, I'm pretty sure gets you a surprise round. I think remaining silent and waiting for Jaheira's signal also gets you a surprise round. But I'm going to strike while Jaheira has them distracted. Okay, that is definitely going to get you a surprise round here. Jaheira should have Sanctuary still, because she was in that conversation, so she is not going to get attacked by anybody down here. So the first thing that we want to do is, and that's good because she was at the end of everybody if there wasn't a surprise round. We're going to get Shadowheart to drop a darkness down here on these two. Okay, and I'm going to move Shadowheart into this.
Got to press on.
Still on my feet.
Okay, now myself, I'm going to reapply Hex here, and it doesn't really matter who we go after. I tend to focus on Shelvin first. Everybody else is ranged. So with the exception of Thanos, he will actually throw stuff at you. But having darkness here kind of prevents all the ranged attacks.
Into the bloody fray.
So Harper Shelvin's not blinded. That's interesting. I wonder why. Okay, so I'm going to focus my attack on Harper Layson because now I'm getting the additional psychic damage, even though I'm not getting the additional necrotic damage. Don't know why Shelvin is not blinded. I'll let Astarion focus on her, though. Okay, 2 crits. Nice. Okay, that's enough out of Shadowheart. Let's get Astarion in here, see how much mopping up he can do. Okay, so should just need a bonus action, or actually my first action here to get rid of that. Then my regular unarmed strike here should be able to take care of this. Okay. And I'm actually going to move Astarion up here. Okay, can't reach him. But I can get a ranged attack. Now, all of these have the Mind Reader trait, which means ranged attacks are going to have disadvantage against them. So you definitely want to get in to melee range when dealing with them.
You'll make excellent fertilizer.
Okay, now Jaheira with Sanctuary, she can't cause damage to anybody, or else she's going to lose Sanctuary. So I'm just going to leave her back here. Two ones. Ugh. Okay, so now I'm not too worried about Astarion being able to hit here, so let's get Shadowheart to drop darkness down here. Move her into it.
Survival is all that matters.
Now I have advantage.
You picked the wrong fight, friend.
Okay. And then Astarion should be able to take out Thanos up here. No, we're not doing that. Okay, so we're gonna drop this, and now I can get down here, down the ladder behind her. And my unarmed strike, even at minimum damage, should be able to kill. Now, one thing you're also noticing here is mental fatigue. Mental fatigue is proccing here because of my bard. So this is applying 2 turns of it every time I hit them with a melee attack. So they have a -4 penalty to Wisdom, Intelligence, and Charisma saving throws right now. Okay, so that means that I can really easily land things that have not a Constitution save, but that have a saving throw, like Tasha's Hideous Laughter or Hold Person, or things like that. Won't need it here, though.
More of Orin's doppelgangers. How many has she brought to Val's side, I wonder?
Okay, now I'm going to talk to Harper Geraldus.
I should speak up. Did I get it right?
Shaluna's tears. It is said no false face can stand beneath their light. An old code, Harper. But yes, you got it right. Now I need your report.
We had eyes on suspected cultists in the city, like you asked. We thought we were tracking them, but...
They were tracking you instead, evidently. Doppelgangers.
And they're not just working with the cult, High Harper. They're part of it. Ballists, I think.
Sworn to Orin the Red, yes. We've already had the pleasure. Go on.
Everything seemed fine until your latest orders. Until we started to search for the Rashomar. They struck the same night. I woke to one of them strangling Chelvin, while smiling at me out of her face. She said... It said that I'd report back to you as normal. Lure you here, and... I had no choice!
I'm sure it felt that way, Geraldus. The others were likely dragged back to Orin. Tortured. Sacrificed. I do not expect you to die for me. But to risk Entharl, any citizen who might have wandered in, there is always a choice. And the Harper must be able to make the hard ones. Perhaps this isn't the life for you after all, Geraldus.
No, Jaheira! High Harper, please! I'm still a Harper. I want to help!
You've scarcely signed up, boy. And there is a war coming. Why die a Harper when you could still live as anything else?
Okay, now if you have this conversation with Jaheira selected, you do not get this dialogue option. She will just send him away. Here you have an opportunity to let him choose on his own.
I want to fight. For Chelvin. For all of them. So it means something.
Death is death. To look for meaning in it is foolishness, boy. Childish storybook nonsense. Exactly the kind the Harper would spout, I suppose. Fine. I have no right to make the choice for you. Not when this mess is of my making. I sent the Harpers hunting after the cult, without thinking what it would mean to be hunted in turn. Now they are compromised. And if not for you, I wouldn't even know it. I'm sorry, Geraldus. Harper. And I owe you an apology as well. I haven't told you everything I hope to learn here today. First, Geraldus, you're the last Harper in the city I can rely on. Lay low and rest while you can. I have matters to discuss with my friend here.
Okay, so now we're going to have a conversation with Jaheira.
Orin knows the hunt. In one stroke, she places the Harpers beyond our reach. Separates us from our pack. Until we know who the false facers are, we cannot trust anyone beyond ourselves. except Geraldus. It has been some time since anyone dared rap my knuckles like you did. No less than I deserve. I have not been overly generous with the truth. I came here to learn of the Chosen, true enough. But I set my Harper searching for someone else, too. Tell me, what do you know of a man named Minsk of Rashomon?
Your ruined brain lurches and bilious intestines squirm. A hero, an enemy most foul.
There's the name that brings memories back to all of us from the previous games. When Geraldus was talking and he said that the doppelgangers ordered them to hunt for the Rashomon, that's what Minsk is. Minsk is a Rashomon, so that was a hint of who they were talking about, but this confirms it.
I sense you mean no insult, calling scarce a century ago the old days, which is considerably more insulting. Minsk is an old friend. Perhaps my oldest. We fought at one another's backs, times beyond counting. And the last time I saw him, I left him to die. Before we ever heard of this Absolute, we received word of a gathering in the Undercity. What we found was the first dark seed of this plot. A circle of cultists with mind flayers in their midst. We might have ended it there, cut off at the root, but before I could send for help, Minsk charged in alone. It was chaos. He was overrun, dragged down beneath a mass of tentacles. I had a choice. Stay and let word of this cult die with us, or leave him and live to fight another day. The world takes much from those who presume to defend it. But sometimes, you get to take it back. So don't be sorry, because I mean to use you, if you're willing. Infection, indoctrination, eradication. That has been the fate of everyone the cult has captured so far. But it has not been yours. With your help, perhaps it need not be Minsk's either. As simply as that? For no other reason than that I asked? Perhaps you two will get along. Oh, the point is moot without the means to find him. Without the Harpers, we shall have to find another path. I'll have a better idea of what that is once we're through the gates. Seems I need to reacquaint myself with this damned city.
Okay, so now we have advanced a couple of things. So, Disable the Steel Watch has been added to Gortash's Netherstones quest, and Orin has obviously been talking to us as shape changed. So, Wolbrin has given us the Iron Powder Bomb to help blow up the factory, and we've now advanced the High Harper quest. This is where we're going to start traveling down the road to finding Minsk, and ultimately bringing Minsk and Boo, of course, into our party as party members. But that is quite a ways down the road. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to drop a save here. Off stream, I get back late on Friday. So hopefully, off stream, I will have time to loot this room here, this area here. I will have time to disarm all of the fireworks in Arfur's basement and pick those up. And I will have gone around and upped everybody's, all 5 of the vendors' attitudes to 100 and spent some time using Jaheira as my level up to stock up on some items. When we join next week, I'm going to be right back here with Jaheira in my party. She's probably going to be fully leveled up at that point. And then we're immediately going to travel back to camp so we can pick up an item. And then we're going to finish exploring here in Rivington. And that is going to include going down to the shore of the River Keonthar. It's going to include the Open Hand Temple and Sword Coast Couriers. It's also going to include the Circus of the Last Days. And for all of that, I would like to have a particular item in my inventory while we're going around and doing it. And you will kind of see me explain all of that when we start next week's episode. So as I mentioned, this week these videos are going live the weekend after Thanksgiving. I will have that entire next week to get ready for this, so should have plenty of time. I confused the dates earlier when I was talking about getting back and having time to do all of this stuff. Since these are going live, I should have plenty of time in between this episode that you're watching and next week to be able to do all the prep work to get ready for that. So everybody here in the US, I hope you have a very happy holiday with family and friends. And as always, thank you all for your support, because without your support, none of this would be possible. This is Commander Jorval saying, until next time, fare thee well.